Good morning. This is Monday with Friday, ushering you into a thoughtful week ahead. Today is Memorial Day in the United States, and yesterday the Christian Church globally observed Pentecost, commemorating the birth of the Church through the arrival of the Holy Spirit. Usually on Memorial Day, Americans remember with gratitude persons who have served in the United States military, particularly those who paid the ultimate price with their lives. Some of us, sensitive to the facts that wars are always unfortunate, wars are frequently ill-advised and foolish, and that militaries, soldiers, do not send themselves into war. We choose to remember the fallen not only from America, but all persons who died from everywhere while prosecuting and fighting somebody else's war. On the other hand, Pentecost is an icon of empowerment. Faithful Christians would say that if God could share divine power with humans, should not humans also share power among themselves? It is the absence of empowerment in America, alongside the abuse of power and the prevalence of loss, poverty, misery, and death, as the powerful, including the government, oppress, abuse, use, and kill fellow Americans, which we addressed in last week's episode. In that episode, we observed that America is dangerously repeating historical patterns in which liberty, justice, and democratic legitimacy are undermined by fear, political tribalism, and selective morality. We warned that nations unravel when institutions lose public trust. We recall that 6 decades ago, when we were here before, the civil rights movement arose. And we ended with the question whether we could learn something and take away something from then to help us navigate and even surmount these current times of democratic, ethical, and moral decline. Shall I add spiritual decline? Well, today the answer is yes. Yes, we can. What do we need? Well, first, relentless documentation of hypocrisy. The civil rights movement forced America to look at itself. From the Kennedy White House to the publishing house, Americans were moved by images of peaceful demonstrators attacked by dogs and fire hoses and police clubs, while hearing the hypocritical refrain, "Will liberty and justice for all." The presence of the likes of Walter Cronkite, that is when CBS was a reputable news outlet, and the absence then of imposters today like Fox News, enabled the highlighting of the hypocrisy. Although it is exponentially more difficult now with more contradictions, no Walter Cronkites, partisan and corrupted news outlets, we must still call out American hypocrisy. For the giants of the civil rights movement understood that systems built on contradictions eventually collapse when enough people see clearly. That is, when enough people are woke. That is why people like Pete Hegseth and others criticize woke, because they know that once we see the contradictions that they are building clearly and we are woke, they go to sleep permanently. Especially since we now live in a flood the zone era, facing a torrent of hypocrisies and wickedness daily, making them hard to manage. We must keep documenting the hypocrisy. Journalists must learn how to push back when they are called piggy by a man who built the piggy trough, filled it with taxpayer dollars, and the only porcines feeding from it are he himself, his corrupt family, and lawless friends. Piggy? Journalists must stop wasting opportunities to hit back respectfully but hard. They must refrain from euphemisms. There's no such thing as a factual error. What's that? Call it a lie, or a damned lie if it is damnable and damning, and damns people when the lies are told. Enough. Name the contradictions. Second, coalition building. The civil rights movement was not only black churches, it involved white allies willing to die just like the oppressed blacks. It included students, labor groups, clergy, journalists, Jewish activists, women's groups, and ordinary citizens. It widened the moral circle until segregationists appeared increasingly isolated and morally archaic. And that is what we are yet to build today. We are still fragmented, even within the church, which has foolishly allowed a criminal reprobate to make us let go of the Pentecostal spirit of unity in favor of the political spirit of disunity. Enough. Third, economic pressure. Boycotts worked. Strategic withdrawals of labor, money, and attention and participation forced systems to respond. The Montgomery bus boycott was not merely symbolic, it disrupted economics. So the question is, are we disciplined enough to do something similar today? Which business can we target and hurt badly by refusing their product, even if it means a sacrifice? Hello, Jeff Bezos. Fourth, moral framing. Dr. King appealed not only to law and public policy, but also to conscience, religious scriptures, patriotism, and human dignity. And all of that still works. Principle is still stronger than prejudice. And fifth, disciplined non-violence. No King's Day marches, raised voices in legislative districts, call upon your legislator to hold town halls when they're hiding, afraid to face us with the wickedness they have done or the good they failed to do in Congress. Lawsuits, suffering publicly instead of quietly. Bring it to the news. Non-violence exposes the brutality of the oppressor while preserving the moral authority of the movement. One day, something good must emerge from the senseless deaths of Alex Pretty and Renee Good. See how much good emerged already from the death of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all of these other people? Non-violence. We must demand our representatives and senators use any constitutional tools rarely discussed seriously enough. And there are many. They can organize coordinated state-level democratic protections. They can pursue interstate compacts. They can use procedural slowdowns strategically. They can aggressively litigate voting rights violations state by state. They can build parallel civic institutions. They can force transparency hearings. They can create moral theater around corruption. Name the corrupt people. Name them many times. Name them loudly. Name the hypocrisy. And do all of that with disciplined exposure. They can find ways to leverage the now loosened tongues of Tom Tillis, Bill Cassidy, and Thomas Massey, for example, for justice. And ordinary citizens like you and me must stop thinking that democracy is preserved only on voting days, or worse, by not voting at all and hoping that something works out. The greatest danger ahead is religious hypocrisy. People of supposed faith can't pray to a God of justice and then turn around and side with unjust, immoral, lawless, faithless, and perverse degenerates. A man bearing the surname of a famous evangelist can't be anything else but a cruel joke, or a caricature, or just a fool coming on TV networks to tell us about our sin, urging us to choose Jesus, while he rabidly supports, blesses, and defends Barabbas and Caesar. Above all, we must reclaim courage. The courage to tell the truth even when your tribes dislike it. The courage to refuse cruelty and oppression even when cruelty affords you a political win or any other kind of win. The courage to build coalitions wider than your ideology or mine. The courage to defend constitutional principles even when your opponents benefit from them. The courage to refuse to vote against minorities just because those aren't your values. And above all, the courage to remember that democracy is not self-sustaining. Every generation either renews it or slowly buries it. So the question remains, will America finally become what it claims to be, or will liberty and justice for all remain only a shallow and useless and hypocritical sentence that we enjoy hearing ourselves say, while the rest of the world looks on at us and laughs us to scorn? Please share this video with many people. I am Michael Friday, and your week just got better. I'll see you again soon. Happy Monday, all the way to Friday.